Hey there. Welcome to CyberPulse by Quantum Shield, the podcast where we make cybersecurity less intimidating and a lot more exciting. Every episode, we're diving into the latest digital drama, from sneaky hackers to the coolest defense strategies, all while sharing tips you can actually use. So grab a coffee, get comfy, and let's navigate this crazy digital world together.
Ever feel like the internet is kind of basically a minefield? At least for all our data.
Yeah, definitely a lot out there.
Yeah. So today we are diving deep into cybersecurity frameworks and best practices.
Right.
Think of it as building a security system.
Okay.
But instead of, protecting your house, it's for like your entire digital life.
Yeah. Everything you do online.
Exactly.
And like any good security system, it's got to be built on a solid framework.
Which is where things, I think, for a lot of people can get a little intimidating.
Yeah. Diving into the technical weeds.
Yes, exactly. Luckily, that's what we're here for, is to break down some of these frameworks so you don't have to sift through, mountains of technical jargon.
Yeah, let's demystify cybersecurity together.
I love that.
Right.
So, starting with the basics, it seems like every day there's a new headline about some major data breach, like Target or...
Absolutely, yeah. Equifax, SolarWinds.
Right, it's constant.
Yeah.
So how can anyone keep up with all the threats out there?
It can feel overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
And that's precisely why cybersecurity frameworks are so crucial. They essentially provide a structured approach to help organizations manage and mitigate these ever-evolving risks.
Okay, so instead of a one-size-fits-all approach, these frameworks are more like adaptable blueprints.
Exactly. They provide a foundation.
Gotcha.
But they also allow for flexibility and customization based on an organization's specific needs and threat landscape.
That makes sense, because obviously not every organization is the same.
Yeah. Exactly. And some of the biggest names you'll hear in the industry are NIST, ISO, and CIS. So let's start with the NIST Cybersecurity Framework.
Oh, yeah.
Developed by the National Institute of Standards and Technology in the U.S., it's considered like the gold standard. Think of it as the trusted blueprint that everyone wants a copy of.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this blueprint analogy really works.
Yeah.
So what makes the NIST framework stand out from, maybe some of the others?
Yeah, so NIST really focuses on 5 key functions: identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover.
Okay.
And best of all, it's flexible enough to be implemented by organizations of all sizes, from, small businesses all the way up to large government agencies.
So it's adaptable to whatever you're trying to protect.
Exactly.
Okay, that's key. What about companies that operate internationally? Do they need a different blueprint?
Great question. For global companies, there's ISO 27001, which is the internationally recognized standard.
Okay.
This framework really emphasizes risk assessment and continuous improvement.
Continuous improvement. So they're constantly updating the security system.
Absolutely. And that's really important because the threat landscape is constantly evolving, so your security measures need to evolve as well.
Makes sense. Can't let the system get stale.
Exactly.
Now, earlier you mentioned CIS.
Yes.
How does that one fit in?
CIS Controls.
Okay.
A favorite because of its practical, very action-oriented approach.
Mm-hmm.
They provide 20 specific security controls that organizations should consider implementing. It's like a prioritized to-do list, making it much less daunting to tackle.
So it's almost like, okay, here are the top 20 things you need to do.
Yeah.
Start with number 1 and work your way down.
Absolutely. Prioritize based on your organization's needs.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got our blueprints: NIST, ISO, CIS.
Yep.
But what about actually building that security system? That's where these best practices come in, right?
You got it. Think of it like this. The framework is the blueprint, but best practices are the strong building materials and techniques you use to create a truly resilient defense.
So what kind of building materials are we talking about here?
Well, one of the most fundamental is employee awareness training. This is Cybersecurity 101.
Okay.
Educating your workforce about potential threats and how to spot them. Because, believe it or not,
Yeah, because sometimes people can be the weakest link.
it's true. Think about those phishing scams that trick people into clicking bad links or giving up their passwords.
Right.
Training helps build those human firewalls.
Essential. So it's not just about having, the latest technology, but also making sure people know how to, use it safely and be smart about it.
Yes.
What else is crucial for a solid defense?
Strong access controls are absolutely critical. This is like putting those high security locks on your digital vault. Only authorized individuals should have access to sensitive information.
So no more sticky notes with passwords on them.
Definitely not a best practice.
Okay, good to know.
And just like you wouldn't ignore a software update on your phone, regularly patching systems is another crucial practice. Those updates often include important security patches to fix vulnerabilities.
So those pesky update reminders are actually doing us a favor.
They're your friends. They may seem annoying, but they're there for a reason.
Okay.
And let's not forget secure coding practices. This is about building software with security in mind from the ground up.
Okay.
So it's much more effective than trying to patch vulnerabilities after the fact.
Like building that house on a strong foundation instead of trying to fix cracks later.
Perfect analogy.
Oh.
Exactly.
Okay.
And finally, we have defense in depth. This is all about layering your security measures. It's like having multiple locks on your door. If one fails, you have others as backup.
It's all starting to come together now. But let's bring it back to our listeners. Why does all of this technical stuff really matter to the average person?
That's a great question. Because, in today's digital world, cybersecurity failures have real-world consequences for everyone. We're talking data breaches that expose your personal information, financial losses from stolen accounts, and serious damage to a company's and even your reputation.
Those are consequences that, no one wants to deal with.
Exactly. But the good news is, by understanding these frameworks and best practices, individuals and organizations can make more informed decisions about protecting themselves. Knowledge is power.
Exactly. So to recap, we've covered those essential cybersecurity frameworks like NIST, ISO 27001, and CIS Controls. We also dove into those crucial best practices: employee training, access controls, regular patching, secure coding, and that layered approach of defense in depth.
And here's something to ponder as we wrap up. Technology, as we know, is constantly evolving at an incredible pace.
Yeah.
So, what does the future of cybersecurity hold? How will these frameworks and best practices need to adapt to keep pace with, things like artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, and all these emerging technologies? It's going to be an interesting ride.
It really is. Well, on that note, I think we're going to have you back to dive into some of that stuff, maybe in a future episode. But until then, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see everyone next time.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Thanks for hanging out with us on CyberPulse. Remember, cybersecurity doesn't have to be scary. It's all about staying sharp and a little bit savvy. Keep learning, stay curious, and don't let those cyber gremlins get you down. Catch you next time, and until then, stay safe, stay smart, and keep crushing it online.